Emulators. One of the more practical means of playing old software on modern hardware, an emulator in essence is a type of software that is made to act like another kind of software or hardware. In the case of gaming, most cases hardware. This software is well known when it comes to gaming, especially when it comes to retro gaming, as emulators offer a timeless means of preserving the experiences of older games without having to preserve old hardware. Of course, hardware preservation is important too, but the sad truth is that not all hardware is meant to last forever. What's even sadder is that not all games are lucky enough to be gifted modern ports to more current systems to make it easier for modern audiences to indulge in. With emulators, preservation is given a simple and practical option, alongside a slew of options such as being able to tweak the internal resolutions, and even allowing you to use whatever controller you like to use. Though sadly, that means that games with more unconventional control schemes will be harder to preserve in their full glory. For example, games on the Xbox 360 that use a device called the Kinect will have a harder time preserving its original gameplay. Its unique gameplay involves the player gesturing in front of the Kinect camera to act as the inputs for the game. Still, who knows what surprises might be in store for these games with their unique gameplay. Another potential downside of emulators is the legality of the situation. You see, while one side argues for preservation, another side argues against this on the grounds of pirating. In this case, playing copies of a game that weren't legally purchased, in essence being stolen. You see, emulators nowadays tend to pop up whenever a new piece of hardware comes to town. This means that instead of modern games being purchased through legal means and played on actual hardware, instead find themselves on sites where the ISO and ROM files are being distributed for free, meaning that the original creators don't see any money from this. The only exception that some might have to this argument is if you are using an ISO or ROM on an emulator that was ripped from your copy of the game. The process of ripping software is in essence taking a physical game and copying the contents onto a storage device. Many gamers will find this to be a fair argument when it comes to modern games being sold on modern storefronts, but the same is a bit harder to argue for games that don't see a modern re-release. However, that won't stop companies such as Nintendo from taking these sites down, despite many of these games not seeing a re-release in years, and thus aren't economically viable for the company anymore. Unless, of course, Nintendo would just re-release their old games on modern platforms in the first place. Though to be fair, there have been sites in the past that host these games and have made profits off of them, despite that they are not the owners of the intellectual properties. Then again, Nintendo would also be the company that would strike down fan games, despite the fact that these fan games have received no money in their development ever. Yeah, Nintendo tends to be a bit harsh when it comes to people trying to preserve their old games, even despite many of them doing it out of love and appreciation for their favorite franchises. It is technically within their legal rights to do this sort of thing, but these types of moves are often seen as unpopular within the gaming community.
I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it in this video. This is gonna happen. Take-Two Interactive, or a representative, a legal representative of Take-Two Interactive, is gonna contact Eradicating Love and have this pulled from the internet. If he fails to comply, they will pursue legal action. It's not even a matter of, hey, does this make sense, or is this ethical? To these kind of people, it's a matter of, what does the law say? And upon finding out, they don't question it. They're just like, okay, well, that's a rule, so we better abide by it. Oh, okay, I see. Alright, well, let's not question that at all. I mean, it's a law. It has to be divine, right? It's not like human beings who made up a bunch of rules could be wrong.
That's it for this mission. Check the description for your challenge. Good luck!